once you figure out what it is you want, you have to stay really focused on it because everyone's got a different idea. Everyone's got like a different way that they're being successful or something that's working for them. And you certainly want to pay attention to that and listen. But if you ping pong around constantly with everyone else's ideas, like you don't kind of get anywhere.
All right, and welcome to the episode 5 of the Unbiased podcast. This week we are sponsored by 360 Home Inspections, and today's guest is Wright Sebrell of the Wright Group. Kim is a team leader of the Wright Group, powered by Keller Williams Richmond West, and I just want to thank you for taking the time to come in and talk.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So this is fun. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can't see the entourage that accompanies Kim everywhere she goes because of how important she is. But a few things that we want to talk about. Kim's been in real estate for how many years?
7.
7
I'm going to look to Britt, who's over in the corner.
Right.
I'm like, 7 years, right?
That's right. So let's talk about the transition into real estate from, I don't even know what you did prior to real estate. So what did that look like and why did you make that transition?
Yeah. So I had been in sales for a while. I'd been in direct sales for about 12 years with Southern Living at Home. And that was kind of one of my first experiences. Well, actually, this is my second experience in sales. I sold knives in college. Kind of weird, right?
Nice.
Cutco knives, which we actually give to our clients now. And that was my first experience in sales. And I might have done really well in there because I had kind of a great population. I just called all my parents' friends and they all bought a whole pack of knives from me.
That's
so
right.
I thought I was a great salesperson. Yeah. But truthfully, it could have just been the population. But so that was my first experience in sales. And I did the direct sales for 12 years. And grew a team of like 500 women, just really loved working with women, it was a company that was all about like kind of giving a hand up. So like once you figured out how to be successful, then you just helped others do the same. So I really loved that part of it. And I had a couple of consultants on my team who became realtors. And they were like, oh, if you ever want to do real estate, you should totally do it. And one of them was at Keller Williams.
Nice.
And she's like, this is so much like Southern Living at Home, like the whole feel of it, the atmosphere, so I kind of already knew that if I did real estate, like that's where I would go.
Right.
And so I sold that business, took like 2 years off, became a yoga teacher.
Travel the world. Yeah, met some monks.
I should have. But I did. I became a Bikram hot yoga teacher. I did that for like 2 years. It was super fun. There's like no money in it.
Right.
But it was a great experience. And then I kind of was itching to get back to work.
Right.
So I got my license, had a terrible first year. So for anyone who's kind of wanting to get started, thinking that there's a lot of people that kind of jump out of the gates and just do amazing. Yeah. That was not me. Yeah. Not me at all. It took me like an entire year to cap. I think it took me 6 months even to have one piece of business.
Right.
It's just really slow.
Right.
Really hard.
Yeah. And a lot of people, I think they get hung up when you start anything, whether it's real estate or whatever in business, because you see other people become successful quickly. And you start, doubting yourself versus comparing yourself to,
Yeah. Real estate's tough for that.
Yeah.
Like, not supposed to move, but like I feel like blinders like this are so important.
Absolutely.
Like really in any business. Like once you figure out what it is you want, you have to stay really focused on it because everyone's got a different idea. Everyone's got like a different way that they're being successful or something that's working for them. And you certainly want to pay attention to that and listen. But if you ping pong around constantly with everyone else's ideas, like you don't kind of get anywhere.
So did you think about quitting that first year?
No.
How come?
I just don't quit things.
Okay. Okay. And what turned it around? Like from the first year to the second year, what changed?
So I started getting traction. So real estate's a kind of business that there's some business that's quick. And that's not the kind of business that I like as much. So I'm not a big for sale by owner, expired listings. Like I'm more sphere of influence, referrals, genuine relationships. And that's how I build my business. So that takes longer to build. And you don't get kind of like, oh, I want to sell my house today.
Right.
You get those occasionally, but not enough to build an entire year of business. So it just takes time to build that kind of business.
Makes sense. Absolutely. So you started as a solo agent?
I did.
So you didn't join a team or anything out the gate. And then at some point you decided with the great idea that you wanted to start a team, right?
Yes and no. I'm like, so I kind of got to the point in my business where I wasn't really enjoying or doing a good job of it. Like I was great in sales. Like I was the number one agent in units and volume in my office. But I didn't always feel good about kind of some of the things on the back end. Like if a client wanted something and maybe wasn't as quick to respond as I wanted to be, or there was just things that I knew I wanted to do in my business and I literally didn't have time for it. Right. Because I'm running around doing the immediate things like home inspections and taking buyers out to look at homes and getting listings online and calling agents back and getting, feedback about a house or working through a contract or whatever it was. I was busy doing the real estate. So I didn't have time to kind of change a system or a process so that's when I brought Brittany on. And so that took like 8 months to find her.
Yeah. She was hard to find.
She was hard to find. Yeah. And before Brittany, I had hired a lot of other people just for projects, like along the way. Like, okay, this person's just going to help me with listings or this person's just going to help me plan some events. So I kind of took that approach to start. It was just like pay as I go. And then I committed to a full-time employee, which like that makes you kind of stop and like.
Yeah. Then you start looking like, where'd all my money go, right?
Well, it's one of those things where you all of a sudden are committing to support somebody else full time. It's not just you anymore.
Right. So you really got to analyze everything.
So that was like that was the first step for me in building a team. I know a lot of people think about building a team as in bringing on agents. That's really not where you start your team. Right.
Well, and there's a lot of truth in that. Like, because I was in the same boat. I was too busy doing inspections. Most times 6 to 7 days a week. And it's the whole working in your business and not on your business. You know what you want to do. There's other things like, podcasting that you want to get involved in. You want to build something great, but a lot of times you're stuck working in your business, not on your business. And it becomes very hard, so a lot of times people will say that the first person you should hire is like a marketing person or something like that. But when you're busy already, well, I don't need more business, right? I need support. I need that support system. So that's.
Yeah, I think for agents, and that's, I think, one of the reasons I love KW is that trying to figure out like what is the right process, like what do I do? They kind of spell it all out for you, who you should hire first, how you should hire them, that whole process. I just kind of, so. Yeah, so I don't always like to follow directions. And so like I might not have followed the KW way to start. Right. And I think that's pretty typical for most of us. Like we're kind of like want to be, that's why we're entrepreneurial, right? We want to kind of figure things out ourselves a little bit. But so hiring like an admin or a TC, that was like transaction coordinator. Like I already had a transaction coordinator in place. So when I hired Brittany, she was doing all the back end, like database sorts of things, any kind of social media, anything that had nothing to do with like the client. She did all that. And there's a lot of that to do.
There is.
Yeah, a lot. And really, if you're wanting to grow a team, if you add a salesperson, you need to always add an admin. And that's one lesson we've learned. Yeah. Right. So now we're even. We have 3 agents, we have 3 admin. Nice. And that feels right.
Nice.
And we've had to kind of fix that. So Brittany and I kind of were together about 2 years. She kind of became more my business partner, like every decision I make, which it's so nice to have that like different mind. She's like the opposite of me. So I'm more of really direct, super friendly, gregarious. She's friendly too, but like she's and I'm like, wait a minute. But she's more of like steady and precise and detail oriented, like all the things I don't like to do.
Right.
And so I have like a zero steadiness to me. So she brought that to the table. So when we would talk through an idea, like I would look at it from one way, she would look at it from another, and it just made this like great combo. Yeah. So once we kind of like figured that out, the two of us for about 2 years, then we're kind of scratching our head. There were a couple of agents in the office who kept asking us if we wanted team members. Right. So that's kind of really how we weren't like, oh, let's grow a team. People just kept asking us like, are you going to, can we be on your team? And so, then we're like, maybe we should bring one person on. Yeah. And so Brittany said, well, I think there's this person in the office that we should interview. And I was like, well, and I think there's someone we should interview. And we talked to both of them and we we were like, well, we're going to take 2 people. We didn't know what we were doing. And so we did that. We had those 2 agents, and Cindy being one of them, your wife,
yeah,
who we love. And,
yeah.
And I already had a really great relationship with her, and I loved how steady, and she's just a great compliment to me as a sales agent. We're just different styles, which is really nice to be able to offer our clients like different personalities, fit different clients. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's great to have somebody to bounce those ideas off of, because it's really easy to be stuck on your own. And, I don't know if you should watch House, Dr. House on TV. And one time he fired his entire team and he walked around bouncing ideas off like the janitor, that's what he was doing. Like, what do you think this could be?
Oh, that's so true. So like we did the team because we thought, okay, we figured this out. Like, could we teach other people how they could figure out? It really wasn't like, oh, we have this sales goal we need to reach, and so we need more people to make that happen. It was kind of the other way around. Like, okay, and I think it's that direct sales mentality for me of like, hey, these are all independent contractors, and if I figured it out, I can teach them. They'll do better. I love teaching other people, and then by teaching other people, I'll just naturally, it makes me sharper and better, right? Like when you have to teach, I'm sure same for you, right? When you're training new inspectors, makes you get back on your game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you do all the things you're telling them to do. So there's a little bit of accountability for me in that way when I'm teaching. And then it is just more fun. So we went through COVID as a team, and that hit we were like a year into, was it the first year? 3 months. Yeah, 3 months into starting a team was COVID. And so that power of like us, we talked every day for like 15 minutes, and it was more of like a sanity check-in. Like, how's everyone doing today?
Yeah.
And it was nothing about real estate. I don't know that we would have all gotten through like without each other.
Right.
Honest. That was really the power of the team to start that year. And we ended up selling a lot of houses still.
Right. And that's that, when you're talking about building a team and whatnot, and just the real estate landscape in general, it's changed a lot in the last 2 years, from prior to COVID. It was a strong market. Then COVID happened, and then there was a short dip with the lockdowns because nobody knew what was going to happen. And then it just kind of took off from there. And ever since then, it's really changed, seems like from month to month, from locking inventory to how you present offers, to how you sweeten those offers, to waiving inspections, to waiving appraisals, and all this other stuff. And now we're going back to adding another wrench into it, which is, inflation and interest rates and whatnot. So when you're operating a team, a lot of that is managing your team's expectations and managing those emotions, right? Because now they're looking at it from a standpoint of, what am I going to do? What's do I stick this out? Do I ride this storm out? So how do you operate the team in the changing landscape of real estate and kind of guide them through those hard times, especially being locked in their house with their kids and
yeah. That's like a 12 series question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honest, like there's so many things in there to unpack. So one is the emotions. So, and being a team of all women, we all tend to be pretty close on our team. Mm-hmm. And I think if you don't really care about your people and what's happening in their life, like why would you be in business together? So that's a huge part of our team, is that kind of really knowing each other, knowing our own individual personal goals. So no matter what happens in the real estate market, like our personal goals aren't changing.
Right.
And so that's like the real motivation, right? So why is somebody really working? They're not just working to sell houses. They're working for other things. And what are those things? And those motivations don't change. So I think as a team leader, knowing what my team is motivated by, why they do what they're doing, that doesn't change regardless of how tough real estate gets.
Right.
So it's the same thing too, it's the same thing we're going through with buyers right now. So, buyers who interest rates are going up. Mm-hmm. Oh, they've made 10 offers and still don't have a house. Like, should they keep?
Right.
Well, they're just going to give up. Well, maybe, but there's a reason why they need to buy a house. That didn't change. Yeah. And so when you know that motivation and you can kind of remind people, there's reasons why. When a family of 4 is squeezed into 2 bedrooms, mom is pulling her hair out because kids are sharing a room and there's no private space. Like, I don't care how frustrated they are with trying to find a house, right? That doesn't change. They're still going home to that 2-bedroom home every night. So like, I think it's just knowing what motivates people and really helping them solve that problem that they have.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first thing with the team. As far as the landscape of real estate, I mean, the whole time you were talking, all I could think was, if I could count how many times people have said, wow, you must just be loving this market. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Really? Because it's, although we have had great sales and the market has been really great for sellers, it's been very challenging for buyers. Yep. Our supply chain has been a massive issue. Mm-hmm. And so although people want to make moves, it has just been a different set of problems. And I feel like more problems, right? I don't know how you're experiencing it with inspections, which I know you guys are, right? Because you're riding that wave with us, which is that you just have a different set of problems. And I feel like with COVID, every business had 10 times more problems. Even though we might have had a lot of success, it came with a lot of stress. Nothing works the way it's supposed to, from the courthouse, from attorneys, title work, and I mean, all of it. People's losing jobs last minute and then losing a loan, or, I mean, just so many issues that we just never faced before. So although, yes, it's been a great, we've built our team really nicely over the past 2 years, it has been with 10 times the headache or the problems.
Yeah, and absolutely. Because, on our end, the longer this drags on, being the seller's market that it is, the less upkeep sellers are doing to their homes. So that means inspections are taking longer. We're finding more things.
It's changing.
It is. Yeah.
You can feel it, right?
Yeah.
Like you feel that little shift. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Only one offer on that house?
Yeah.
What? That one went under the asking price?
You mean they actually, got a landscaper in before the, they actually got a contractor in before to fix the roof before the inspection,
Yeah. So it's, I see it shifting. So as an agent, where we see it shifting first is a lot of times in the higher end market. Yeah. And vacation homes. Mm-hmm. We're also seeing it shifting in outlying areas. So areas that are a little further out from the city center are always, in a down market, those are going to be a lot slower. And it's not like I shouldn't say it sells slower. There's just a different sales cycle. Yeah. So, in the city closer in, there might be a 3 or 4 day sales cycle. Out, it might be 30 days, right? So in the past, and here's a difference in the market. In the past 2 years, the sales cycle has been 3 to 4 days for every market. Right. Like everything is just selling fast. Yeah. So if you look at like the number of homes that have actually sold, it's the same. It's not like the market hasn't changed historically over the number of homes that are on the market. It's just, they're just all selling super fast. Right. So what's happening is that on the outskirts, further out of town, we're starting to see that market slow down again. Like it, so on the market over the weekend, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's still on the market. No one bought it over the weekend, right? And you're like, what?
What's wrong with it?
Nothing is wrong with it, really, right? I think
buyers, that's the first thought for a lot of people now, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, right? Time on the market is not a seller's friend, right? That is the buyer's friend. Right. So, but we have noticed several of our buyers going under contract under the asking price, full inspections, full appraisals. So that is happening. Now, there's also neighborhoods, because real estate's super hyper local. So there are neighborhoods that are still selling 100,000 over, 10 offers, waiving inspection, waiving appraisal. But again, that is in specific neighborhoods, but not across the board. Correct. Whereas a couple months ago, it was across the board. So when you start to see that shift, you're like, it's coming. And that is, it's interest rates rising. I mean, people are being quoted now. I'm not a lender. So but I see their loans and they're 5.5 up to 6% now. Now the Fed has said now they may not raise as much again. Yeah. Right. So they came out at the beginning of the year, 7 times. We're all but now they've said they may not raise them again. We'll see. We'll see what they do. No, those are all great points because it's definitely a shifting dynamic. It's a shifting industry. And like I said, we've seen it. We've ridden the wave, and we've seen. It's easy for people on the outside to ask you those questions because we get asked that too. Like, man, you must be having a blast, making money hand over fist in this market. I'm like, I haven't done an inspection in months.
Right?
No. So here's what I love is that we've just used you all in such a different way. Like it's flexed.
Yeah.
Right. So now we have you all come in and do pre-inspections for us, for our buyers before they even make an offer. So they can waive the inspection.
Right.
Which I love. And then they get that protection.
Yeah. But a lot of people, they just see that surface level, media, which you see on, and of course, realtors and home inspectors alike and lenders, you're only posting, the good stuff that you see, but what you don't see is the fact that there's 6,000 agents in Richmond, and you're only seeing the top 20% really thriving in this market, to where the rest of them are, and this is the other side that we get, is showing up on an inspection and they've had 2 buyers, 3 buyers, 4 buyers, 3 of them's quit because they're tired of looking. And then we get this, I really need this to go through. We get those conversations from realtors because they're just
that's dangerous,
desperate, right? Because they haven't had a sale in 6 months, even though the market's hot per se. But when you have 20 offers, you got 19 going back home and trying again. So
I have a strong opinion on that. Can we talk about that for a second?
Absolutely. Let's go. Let it fly.
So desperation, right? And the salesperson, it is like the death of your business.
Yeah.
So if you don't put your client first and care about your client, you can't have it be about you. And I do hear this a lot with agents. And it's hard if you're really hungry. And I suggest when you're trying to build your business, don't be so hungry. Get another job.
Yeah.
Feed yourself another way as you're growing your real estate business, because your client absolutely has to come first.
Yeah.
And I've made many decisions along the way that were not good for me,
right,
but they were good for the client.
Right.
And you always do that. And when you always do that, it gets seen over and over again. And people notice that. And that's what builds your business. That's
Absolutely.
what builds trust with your clients when you put them first.
Yeah.
So that would be one thing I would say for agents. And it is hard because they feel desperate. And if you start to feel desperate, I think that's when you need to do something else to make money. If you're not making the money you need in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that mindset, then that way of operating, which I think we operate in a very similar fashion, right? It's about the client, right? It can cause us additional headaches, right? For whatever reason, but it's also more work, right? Because now you're invested. Anytime you invest into a client that way, it's more work, right? Because you're building a relationship, and it just takes more. So with that being said, when you're building a team out, and like you said, you and Brittany both had somebody in mind on who you wanted to bring on board, and since you started your team, you've had people come and go, which is a natural part of growing a team and building a team. What is it you're looking for when you're trying to bring somebody on and whatnot? Because you want somebody that's going to be a reflection of you, right? When talking to other people, me and Jeff Zielinski's had this conversation, like no one's going to do an inspection like I do it, right? No one's going to do a listing presentation or talk to a buyer like you do it. But when you bring somebody on under your brand, under your name, now you're depending on them to care as much as you and to represent you in a way. But at the end of the day, they have their own personality, right? They have their own way to do it. So what is it that you look for when you're talking about, hey, you have that conversation with Brett about, hey, maybe we should bring somebody on. What do you think about this person? You think they'll fit?
All right, let's see. This is a good question. So, I think we've just been kind of like lucky.
Yeah.
Like people have kind of come to us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to think the last hire is Tara. And so we needed to find a social media person, mostly because Brittany was like, I'm just overwhelmed. Like I can't do all these tasks anymore, because she was one admin with 3 agents. So again, like our ratio was a little bit, just a touch off.
Yeah.
And
Cindy is really needy too. So
boy, I don't know about that. She's pretty independent, but she could be different in the office.
That's right.
Anyhow, so with Tara, so we put out an ad and we just said, hey, we're looking for this kind of person. We put it out on all kinds of, job postings and different sites. I don't know where we put it out. I know Brittany did it. So wherever she put it out, and we also said, let's put it on social media too, like on our Facebook. Maybe like someone we know might know someone, or someone in my, and we immediately get this like beautiful letter back from Tara, who'd been a client of mine. And I mean, literally, Brittany and I were jumping up and down. We're like, oh my gosh. It was, I wish I could read it. Yeah, Brittany's over in the corner with goosebumps. So it was just like one of these letters where you're like, oh my gosh. Like you just realize this person is as professional as we, if not more. Like when you meet someone that you're nervous that they're like already better than you, right? That's how Brittany was when I offered Brittany a position. I was almost in tears. I felt like it was like a date. I was like, oh my God, she's going to say no.
I hope they like me.
Right? Because I was like, she's so much better than me. Like she could work for, it was that feeling of like, I just knew like she's way better than me. And so I was so nervous hiring her. Same thing with Tara, and Tara sent us her letter. We were just kind of like, oh my gosh, this person. So we have somebody else right now too. We're not even looking for someone. This very highly qualified client of mine who's her PhD. She runs all of special ed programming for state of Virginia. And she's like, can I do some projects for you? We're like, what? She sent us a huge spreadsheet of like all the things she could do for us. Well, a spreadsheet. Yeah. A huge spreadsheet. Things we hadn't even thought about doing. We're like, what? So like sometimes I feel like when you are authentic about who you are, like people kind of find you.
They do. And
people find you. So like we're not going to hire anyone else right now. We don't need any other agents. But if we were to hire an agent, our next hire, like I knew who our next hire will be. It'll be someone very experienced, someone kind of at my caliber of sales, who could be a director of sales and who could run.
Yeah. When you're talking about, and it's not just real estate, it's anywhere from the military to public safety to schools to business. There's such a shortage of good leaders who just want to do the right thing and lead the way leadership is designed to be done. People naturally want to seek that out and be part of it because it's such short supply, right? And it's infectious and it's contagious, and they want to be part of something just because it's even though the work is hard, and even though it can be overwhelming, they're okay with that because it's the culture that's being built. Because again, it's just not everywhere. It's such short supply. And as they say, people don't leave jobs because they're unhappy with their job. They leave jobs because they're unhappy with who's in charge, right? So I think it speaks volumes that people just call you up and say, hey,
Yeah. And we likewise have had people that have left. You're right. So I didn't even mention that part, but that was my biggest fear. And building a team was that not only that, but I'm telling people exactly kind of like my secrets, so to speak. Like, this is how you do things. This is the script you use. This is exactly how I'm successful. These are my clients I'm going to hand over to you and let you work with. That could then become their clients. So there was a little bit of a fear. Right. And I think when the first person, at the end of the year, she was really unhappy and it wasn't kind of a good match. She was looking for a different kind of experience that I just couldn't offer her. Like, this wasn't how our team was. Right. I was kind of like, oh, this is like, okay. She chose to go with a different team and is super happy there. It was like, it fit better with what she was looking for. And at the same time, we had brought on a new agent then who ended up fitting our culture really well too. So it just kind of worked out. So that fear kind of, I don't know why, that was a big fear for me.
Well, like I said, and it goes back to like, you say you're trusting your clients with them. And there's a fear there because, like I said before, I mean, it's no one's going to do it like you. Like they call you because of you, and now I need to trust you with other people. They're part of my team, but they're not me, and I hope that they're doing it as well as I would, right? Yeah. So it's definitely a fear, and that's when Aaron approached me to merge with National Property Inspections. That was my biggest fear. Like, I'm making a huge investment here. You have, additional inspectors, you have office staff. What if I buy all this stuff and they quit, and now we don't like Sid. We're out. and now I'm sitting at the house with 3 vans and a car sitting in front of my house with nobody in it and all this equipment.
Well, we know what Cindy would have said about that.
I know, right? It might be like I told you so or something like that in there.
We might have a couple like personal jokes about how she talks to you.
Yeah, I'm sure. She doesn't listen to this anyway, so it's okay.
Okay, well, she might this time. I mean, can I tell a funny story
Sure.
about that? Can I tell it, you think? Okay, so this is one thing I love about my team. Like, we just have so much fun together, and you're so right. Like, if you're not having fun together, like, it is about the success, of course, and people need to be successful to make a certain amount of money to support themselves. But we just have so much fun. I don't know how many times I've left, like, literally crying, laughing in our office. We just have so many inside jokes. We have so much fun together. Like, I can't wait to get to work to see everyone. We have a really fun time together. But so just a funny story, Cindy, myself, and Holly, who is the other, so there's the 2 buyer's agents on my team. We all went to family reunion together, which is our Keller Williams conference, right? So we're all rooming together. You totally get to know people. Yeah. You know, like I pack very efficiently. Holly brings like everything in the kitchen sink and still doesn't have an outfit to wear.
I can see that.
Just like so funny. Like she's in and out of the room 10 times. And, you know, she's so cute. She's just like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much Steven organized me. You know, she can't find anything.
Me and Steven are going to have a talk here soon.
Oh, they're so cute, right? But we just loved it. So you just get to know people, you know, when you stay with them like that. And, you know, she's on the phone with Steven. It's all, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And it's like 40 times of I love yous before they get off the phone.
Like one phone
Cindy
call.
and I are like, geez. Cindy looked at me and she said, I don't think I've told Sid I love him that much the entire time we've been married. And then she's on the phone with you that evening. And I don't know what she was saying to you, but she's like, just suck it up, Sid. Suck it up. So we're like, this is the old married couple.
That's right.
Just suck it up. This is the newlyweds. I love you. I love you. I love you. So anyways, we have good laughs about that. But it's just like those sorts of things that just seem kind of funny. And like everyone has, I don't know, everyone just kind of has their own personality and just brings such a great flavor. We just have so much fun. Honestly, like I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun.
Yeah. Well, and that's, you know, talking about going back to the fear of explaining or sharing all your secrets with people, you know, as the saying goes, and I've said it on here when I was talking to Greg when we were doing the podcast, is, you know, you train people so they can leave, but you treat them so they want to stay, right? And you build a culture and whatnot, and you have fun and you get to know each other, and so they don't want to leave.
You have to build like a big enough. You have to have a big enough vision that their vision can fit inside.
Exactly.
You know, like that their dreams and aspirations, that they can reach those.
And that they can develop their own identity as well while representing what you've built, right? To contribute to it, right? So with that being said, when you're talking about how long you've been very successful doing this, you're a team leader now. You've got all these people working for you, right? That's depending on you. And now being in an office at Keller Williams, which about 200-ish agents. And while you're not like the team leader of the office, I'm sure being on the ALC and things like that, people still come to you for advice and leadership guidance. So how do you balance all that? Especially, you know, because we haven't even gotten to any personal life stuff, right? So you still have a personal life. You have your team that you're committed to, but I'm sure you're viewed as a leader within the office as well.
Yes. So I am on the ALC. For those people that aren't with Keller Williams, that's our Agent Leadership Council. So we, with the leadership, the paid leadership in the office, run the office. So yes, that's a commitment for meetings and decisions to what's going to happen in the office. And for certainly, like, people kind of come to you with more questions. I'm not the acting broker, but I still will get questions, just like I'll call people too, right? So people will stop by and want to pick my brain on things, and you want to help. The best part, I think, about our office is that, you know, if people come to me with questions, you know, I can go to Maria or Austin, who is our new acting broker. It's not called acting broker. I forget what the term is. Anyhow.
Supervising broker.
Yeah, supervising. Thanks.
I knew that.
We're on it, Sid. So, you know, I can go to them and say, hey, I'm getting this question a lot, or you, and then we'll just plan a training around it. Right? So that's the great thing in the office, is there's a lot of support. There's a lot of extra classes and training. So we just kind of, you know, if you start getting the same questions, but it is hard to balance it all. There's one of the things I find is that I start working on the business so much. Like we have so many processes and systems that we need to put in place. Yeah. I'm not a process and systems person, so it's like kicking and screaming to get me to do it. But I've gotten on a kick this past 6 months. We drastically changed our whole business model this past 6 months.
Yeah.
Totally different model. We changed everything. I mean, we flipped our whole business upside down. And so we've spent a lot of working on the business, but it's all one-time things. Once this process is in place, it's done. So that's affected me working in the business. That's probably my hardest balance, is still calling my clients, taking the time to do that. So that part's a little bit hard doing both, because I am straddling both. So I'm kind of the owner. In the org chart, I am the owner of the business. Right. So Brittany reports to me. Social media kind of reports to me and Brittany. Yeah. I'm still the director of sales. I'm also the listing manager. Yeah. So I'm just wearing a lot of hats still in a small business, which I'm sure you do too. Yeah. Right. So you wear all those hats and you start to realize, why am I so tired? And then, let me try to have some personal life. Yeah. And I'm just take Sydney's advice. Suck it up, Kim.
I know, right? Yeah. Absolutely. Cause I get Justin calling me, 9 times a day, telling me his wife flew the drone into the house and whatnot while he was practicing with it. And then, Courtney doing what Courtney does, with all of her questions, and what she's getting ready to say something.
Courtney just, I think, buzzed him out. Right. Sid no longer has a voice on this podcast. Yeah, I'll be talking for the rest of the time now.
I'll be the host.
That's right. But no, it's a lot. It's a lot to balance, and it's amazing when you start working on the business. All of a sudden, you wake up or you look up, and it's it was snowing, and now it's beach weather, right? Because the time just flies by.
It does,
and sometimes it's hard to see that progress. You're like, what have we actually accomplished? Until you actually start digging into it.
Yeah, and there's some projects that have just taken us so long. We're like, why did this take so long? And then all of a sudden it's speed up, and it's all of them are done. And you're like, wow. So I think that's one thing that we've had to really stop and do, which is we have a huge board. I'm looking at your board. Your board's kind of like ours, where we've got so many things on there. We're constantly adding things, and one of the things we're finding is going back and looking at what have we accomplished and talking about what we've accomplished. Yeah. And I think with a team, talking to the team about what we've accomplished over and over. And that's one thing that, as we changed our model, talking about that model, talking about the new goals, talking about the new process, what we were completing, what we were doing. And Brittany's like, we've already talked about this. I'm like, that's okay. We're going to talk about it again. And we're going to talk about it again and again and again.
Yeah,
that helps the team.
It does. And we moved to a project management board program that we just started using. And some of this, I'm sure you do the same thing too, where you're waiting for updates on a program or something that you've been working on when it's done. And you're like, I'm like, Courtney, where is this? Why isn't this done yet? And then you look at how many, because she's got 300 things I've asked her to do.
Okay.
And you kind of forget.
Okay, so Brittany and Courtney are never allowed to have lunch.
No, they're not.
Okay, because Brittany will look at me sometimes, because I'm the kind of person, I come in the office in the morning and I'm like, I've been thinking.
That's right.
Right? I've been thinking. I've got some ideas. Yeah. And so
I don't wait till the morning. I'm texting her 8 o'clock at night.
So
hey,
I'll
we
start.
Need to do this.
Well, okay. So Brittany has young children, so I'm kind of I know that's going to go nowhere. But first thing in the morning, I'll start kind of with all these ideas, and Brittany will look at me with wide eyes and be like, "Do you want me to work on this or the 10 other things you told me about yesterday? What's a priority?" And I'm like, oh, all right. Okay, I gotcha. I'm not big on how long it takes to implement something. Yeah. Maybe 3 weeks ago, I said, let's do a podcast. And I was like, let's do one Friday.
That's right.
And it was Monday.
Can't you get free shipping overnight? We're good.
They're laughing at me because that's so me. I'm kind of I don't understand why we can't just do this. Magically, where's all the podcast materials to just show up and let's just record.
That's great. That's why you have an entourage. We've been talking for quite a while now, and I want to be respectful of your time. I know you got appointments this afternoon. So the last thing I'll ask you is, where do you see for the remainder of at least this year, and with your crystal ball, because home inspectors have crystal balls, so you can I'll let you use mine if you need to. But where do you see real estate heading, and the challenges that the industry is going to be facing in the next year or two?
So I think sellers and buyers. I think we may see a slowdown of people just moving out of preference. Mm-hmm. right? People that need to move, people always need to move.
Right.
So I'll always be in business. Someone's
Right.
going to be moving, right? There's reasons people have to move. People have been moving recently because I want a pool or I want extra space or I want to live
Get to
out.
work from home and
I want to
need
work
an
from home
office
and have more.
or
But, you know, like
yeah.
people could make do. So I think maybe we won't see as many people moving just for pleasure reasons, you know, more like I have to move.
Right.
So I think maybe some of that. But I do see as the market returning to maybe a little bit, maybe how it was before, you know, a little bit more inventory, which is not a bad thing.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see as we have more inventory come onto the market, because we are seeing that now a little bit more, is that as the interest rates go up, our buyers still going to be hanging in there buying houses. So like, right, that's supply and demand. It's always keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
As the supply goes up, is the demand still going to be high? I don't know.
Especially because prices have gone up so much, right?
Interest rates. Yeah, with interest rates going up.
So,
you know, let's keep it real. Like, yeah, 6% a lot, but my first house was 6%.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's not
yeah,
a horrible
yeah.
rate.
Yeah.
It's just comparative.
over the span of time, it's still pretty low.
And not
right?
only that, but people have to live somewhere. So it's not like rent's going down.
Exactly.
Rent's just going up. So, I mean, our goal is always when we meet people, whether they feel like they can afford a home right now or not, it's like find out when you can, how you can, what's that look like. Yeah. Maybe it's a year out, 2 years out, 3 years out, but a lot of people can buy homes and don't realize it. Mm-hmm. They're just scared to ask. They're scared to talk to a lender to figure it out. So that's like our big thing. Like we'll help people find rentals, but it's that caveat of like, but then we want you to figure out too how you could buy a home, and not because we want the sale, but because it's like in their best interest to build wealth and not pay for somebody else's mortgage, pay for their own, right? Like, so I do think it will, see things shifting. I think it might be in a good way.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the new build, like the new build too. Like a lot of builders in the area are moving more towards spec homes. It'll be interesting to see as they're holding inventory, how that goes.
If they start being nice to realtors again.
You know what? Okay, misnomer. Like almost all the builders in town are really good to realtors.
Yeah.
I love builders.
Most of them are.
Yeah, I think most of them are. I think maybe there's like, you know, one or two that get a bad reputation, but the truth of it is that they want us to bring. Yeah.
Well, it's just like anything else. One or two gets a bad reputation, but that's all you hear about. So everybody assumes that it's everybody.
Yeah, but Absolutely. I would say on the whole, like we have a lot of people under contract with new builds, and they've all been great to work with and very respectful, and like it's a great partnership. So I appreciate them on that end. But yeah, who knows? I don't have the crystal ball. I just know that like we care about our people, and there'll be enough people that move that will still be in business. I do think for agents who are newer, who don't maybe have a base of business that are doing well because the market has been a little bit hot, they may struggle. And I do know that there are agents that are holding lots of buyers that can't get under contract. And so that does get hard because they're not getting paid. They're working and not getting paid.
Exactly.
So I wonder if we'll see a big difference in the number of realtors over the next 2 years.
I think home inspectors will be the same boat, you know, for the same reasons.
So. But, you know, the thing is in a down market, like really good businesses that provide genuine care for their clients grow.
Well, yes, because you approach it as a business, right? And you invest in the business, and you've built that foundation in the good times, right? Yeah. So to get you through the bad times, absolutely. Yeah. So I appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun. If anybody wants to find you, whether it's to ask you questions, be on your team, or just buy or sell a house, how do they find you?
Yeah, so they can find us online, the Wright Group, VA.com. So they can find us there on our website. They can find us on Instagram, Facebook, any of those, just the Wright Group VA.
And the Wright Group is spelled?
The T-H-E, Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. Right, the right way, W-R-I-G-H-T, group, VA.com. They can call me directly if they want. Okay. It's 804-539-7524.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. This is so much fun.
It was. And thanks for listening.
So when I get my first podcast, you'll have to come be a guest on mine.
That's right.